I haven't made many Halo related videos yet, but a lot of you on the channel know I'm a big Halo fan. I've played Halo since I was 8 years old, and it's sad that the recent couple of Halo videos I have made have been quite negative. Unfortunately, today is also a negative Halo video in a way. I'm sure some of you have seen. For those of you who aren't as connected with Halo and haven't seen, I'll go over what's happened over the past few days. So, first of all, an employee that currently works on Halo said this: "I honestly don't think I could work on a game that glorifies or fantasizes modern guns. In brackets, COD, Battlefield, Rainbow Six Siege. I've had moments where I've struggled with Halo, but the weapons and world is pretty sci-fi, which creates a large enough separation from reality." What the hell? Being a video game developer working on a first-person shooter with modern weapons, because, let's be honest, the UNSC has some pretty modern-looking guns still, is like being a vet that doesn't like animals. Like, what? It's like being an artist that doesn't like to draw, or being a musician that can't play an instrument. Like, what the hell is this person doing working on Halo? I'm sorry, but this makes absolutely no sense at all. This is worse than when 343 deliberately hired people who said they didn't like the Halo franchise. This is worse than that. It's just, I can't understand it at all. One of the weirdest things I've heard this year so far. Now, maybe this person, maybe they just needed a job and this was the one they could get, right? But I mean, if you can get a job at 343 Industries working on Halo, I assume you can get a job working at any other AAA gaming company. Halo is one of the biggest IPs in the world, and even if you can't get a job working on a AAA company, whatever, if it's your passion and you don't want to work on shooters, then go and work for an indie team or a AA team that is working on something more, casual or more in the lines of something like an Animal Crossing or something which is laid back, relaxed, etc., or an adventure game like Zelda, whatever, right? You get the idea. Now, apparently some people online were attacking this individual and saying some pretty mean things. That's not warranted. Don't attack the person. It's just like their decision in terms of where they've chosen their workplace to be isn't ideal. Doesn't make much sense, raises many questions, and we can judge their decision, but we can't judge the person as a whole. That's just not the right thing to do. So anyone who's attacked this person or threatened them, etc., that's not on. Don't do that, please. When you dumb it down, the situation really is you have an employee that doesn't like working on games with guns, and you as a studio are developing a first-person shooter. That is a bit of a conflict in interest, right? Very much so, because they have no interest in helping develop the game that you are paying them to develop. Therefore, you have to kind of ask the question, is the person right for this company? And that's as simple as it is, really. I think, there's just some questions raised about why this person was hired, why they are working on the game, and that's that. The other bit of news here is that Joseph Staten, one of the original creators of Halo, was actually laid off from 343 Industries. Many people thought that he was just on a temporary contract, and after joining 343 to help steer Halo Infinite in the right direction, that he was then, shifted elsewhere to Microsoft Game Studios, where he was previously working at. And his work on Halo is more of a contractual, maybe, like a 12 to 18 month thing or something, which is very common for Microsoft to do. There's been hundreds of contractors working on Halo throughout the past 10 years. Turns out he was actually laid off, and he didn't go back to Microsoft Game Studios. He then went to look for a new job, and he now works at Netflix. So, yeah, that's a weird one to do. Literally laying off the person who started the franchise, who clearly helped you steer it in the right direction, because it was an absolute mess before he joined. Very, very interesting, He helped them steer to where it needed to be, and then they got rid of him the moment they shipped the game. Very, very weird choice of things to do. 343 just seems to have this massive ego about hiring people who don't like Halo, want Halo to be different, and refusing to hire original Bungie developers. Very, very strange. There's more proof as well that 343 has this weird ego and reluctancy to bring on original designers, developers, etc. that worked on Halo. Hardy LaBelle, another original developer of Halo, the lead designer on Combat Evolved multiplayer specifically, tried to reach out for a job at 343 quite a while ago, and they actually made it clear to him that they wanted nothing to do with him, and he therefore couldn't apply for the position, which is very strange. And he's not the only one. There's like 2 or 3 more that have openly come out and said that this has happened to them. So very, very strange thing for 343 to do. They're basically saying, we don't want any of the original people working here unless you already are. We want to fill this company with new people, and we want to shape Halo our way rather than, just giving in, essentially, and bringing in people who clearly know what they're doing and handled the IP for 10 years before us. One of the other examples that I just mentioned, Paul Russell, he was Halo's former environment artist. He actually gave Halo the name Halo, if that makes sense. He applied for a job at 343 a few years ago as well, and they made him wait in the parking lot for an hour after the interview, and then their lead artist came out and said they'd call him back after an hour of waiting, but they never did. They just cut off communication from him entirely. So yeah. Later, a friend who still worked at 343, a friend of Paul's, said to him, sorry, we're not hiring any Bungie people. So, yeah, it's just incredibly weird stuff going on at that company that makes absolutely no sense. It's no wonder that Halo is in, such a bad spot. It's been mishandled for a very long time by the wrong people, and it's because they are basically refusing to bring in the right people. I think, in summary, what this shows is pretty simple when you think about it. It's that 343 doesn't want to hire people or bring people back in from Bungie in the original Halo days, because it would quickly show the world that 343, as it is now, have been incompetent and don't know how to make Halo. If the moment they bring in people who've worked on the game before and they have a successful title, it would just be proof that the previous team couldn't do it, and therefore they needed the help of the people who previously showcased they can. So as I said, at the end of the day, it's just ego. It's a company that has ego and wants to prove that they can do it, which, that's good. If you want to prove you can do it and you have the drive and you think you can tackle this thing and provide a good Halo game, then good on you. But I'm sorry, you failed to deliver for 10 years. So clearly you can't. If this was things they were doing, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, I'd be like, it's okay. You want to prove you can do it yourself. We'll see what you come up with. We've seen what they came up with, and it's never really, hit the mark. So, yeah, I think it is time to bring in some people who clearly do know what they're doing.